Well, there you have it. The red light is on, and the brothers are having some extreme technical difficulties. So, without further ado, the show must go on. And we are here today to discuss this weekend, the biggest party of the summer, SummerSlam. Where do I begin? 2 nights, August 1st, August 2nd. So much more. We got to get into that. We got to get into every matchup. For both nights, it's an action-packed, loaded extravaganza, not to mention our most famous segment of What Did You Watch? And a beautiful masterpiece done by the New Day. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you are prepared for SummerSlam just like I am, buckle your seatbelts and get ready for a crazy ride because the summer is winding down and WWE SummerSlam 2026 is upon us. Let's get it.
Houston, we have a problem.
Yes! What you gonna do? 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 What you gonna do?
Welcome to the Wrestling Rum Now podcast, where we take a deeper dive into the world of professional wrestling. Now, I'm your host, yours truly, the realness himself, the real Dwayne Allen. And as you can see, I am in the building. And he is your host, Mr. Super Producer, Brother Hugh, but you know him as, has the third A to the A to that's T to H to D, 3 to the R to the D, is somewhere in some building, and he is your host. The Belt King, not just any guy, but Brandon the Guy is indeed somewhere in a building. And he is your host, the man, the myth, the legend, the founder, the creator of the Wrestling Room. And still in 2026, Mr. I'm moving on, I don't need ya.
Hollywood!
Is in the building, and he will join us shortly. And welcome to the Wrestling Rum Now podcast. Yes, you're probably not used to seeing the realness solo dolo in this setting. Usually you might catch me in a realness react, but as the brothers are getting themselves situated and having technical difficulties, we are going to get this show started. So welcome to this episode of the Wrestling Rum Now podcast, where we indeed will preview this year's SummerSlam 2026. 2 nights, August 1st to the 2nd. I can't even begin to tell you what they have planned, what's going on, what is to come, but we are definitely going to dissect it and get into it today. Now, for those that may not be as familiar with the world of pro wrestling, SummerSlam is one of the biggest shows of the year for WWE. Some people even compare SummerSlam to the WrestleMania of the summer. Now, we have had this conversation on numerous occasions before, that ever since the format of the WWE has changed, we have gotten these big super shows where they've been abroad in other countries, or these specialty shows that mimic and look almost as big as a WrestleMania or SummerSlam. But nevertheless, SummerSlam in the summertime is definitely a game changer for the WWE, and it kind of sets the tone as we wind down the summer and head right into the fall. Now, for those who still may not be as familiar with the world of pro wrestling, there is no off season. So you have to constantly create wonderful product all year round. And WWE has no problem doing that with as many superstars on this loaded card. So today we're going to get into that. This is our SummerSlam preview show. There's a lot to get into. There's a lot that we have to probably dive into. But I'd be remiss if I didn't take the time to remind you all that we are in an anniversary year. Yes, we are behind on some things, but we indeed are celebrating 15 years. 15 years of the Wrestling Room. Myself, Brian H., Brother Hugh, Brother Guy, we've been doing this for such a long time. Superior wrestling intellect has been reigning over the airways in more than one medium in one type of way for such a long time, and we are just getting started. So we appreciate you joining us and having a good time as we continue to celebrate 15 years of us having these pro wrestling conversations. We have a lot coming because of the 15th year anniversary. We have 15-year anniversary content. So many things we plan on pulling back the layers that we can trying to introduce you to a world that you may not be as familiar with. If it hasn't always been a podcast, no, it has not. It has the restaurant has taken many forms, and it's probably going to take a few more forms as we continue to move into the future. But if you have not been around for 15 years, take this quick moment to catch up on maybe a portion of some of the things that we've been doing all this time. So take a look. So join us as we continue to celebrate our 15th year. It's as the more I say it, the more it baffles me how long we've been doing this, and we haven't even scratched the surface yet. So stay close to our social media platforms, just to stay up to date with the news and everything that may be coming down the pipeline as far as content celebrating us in our 15 years. But without further ado, it seems like the brothers are still having technical difficulties. But once again, you are here. I am here. The show must go on. So let's just jump into it. Let's not waste any more time. Let's call on our good friends Rocky Balboa and Apollo Creed, our co-hosts, to help us get this show started the correct way by ringing the bell. Gentlemen,
Want to ring the bell?
Ding, ding.
every week we do a segment here on the Restaurant Now podcast known as What Did You Watch? Now, what exactly is What Did You Watch? What Did You Watch is an opportunity for us to discuss all the pro wrestling content and stuff we watched all week so that our minds and hearts can be in the right space to have these conversations by the time we get here on the podcast for the Wrestling Realm Now podcast. So much has happened. So much has been said, and so much has transpired over the last week or two, and we'll get into that in just a moment. But that is why we have this segment. So without further ado, I present to you What Did You Watch? Brought to you by our good friends at SeatGeek. If you're looking to purchase tickets to concerts, live shows, sporting events, and more, head over to SeatGeek.com where you can use our promo code Wrestling Realm for any one-time purchase of $50 or more. That's promo code Wrestling Realm on any one-time purchase of $50 or more. What did you watch? What did the realness watch this week? Well, on top of the normal pro wrestling content that I tend to engage with all week long, I definitely took some time to dig into some old Ring of Honor stuff from the Sinclair broadcasting era. It's my era. It's the it's when Ring of Honor was in our backyard. We had a front row seat to a lot of our favorite pro wrestlers today as they were kind of cutting their teeth and getting their start, making their way through the indies as our Ring of Honor started to carve out its niche in professional wrestling during that time. But not only did I watch that, I have to address the elephant in the room. There's something that I'm sure we all watched. I watched a masterpiece. Oh, look, it's Brian H. I'm sorry, I didn't see you here, Brian H. Do I have to take you off? That's okay. Brian is just, he can sit there. It's like a screenshot. It's fine. I watched a masterpiece take place. As I was scrolling through social media, for those that may not be as familiar, I said it like 10 times already as the show's gotten started. A lot of the superstars of the WWE who were released or cut or asked for their release or whatever the case may be, the 90-day no compete clause is officially up. And Austin Creed and Kofi, they decided to create an animated short to show the world that they are indeed set free. Entitled, what was it? What was it called? I think it was called Daybreak. I'm not sure. But yes, it was this, it was something that I saw that I was never expecting. You know, when most wrestlers, their 90-day compete clause is up, nowadays with technology is they do some type of drastic video presentation, which I think is really, really good. We saw one from formerly Joe Gacy, who he did something that was very, very similar to his Wyatt Six era. He did his own version of that, which I thought was really, really, really cool. And so, you know, usually when wrestlers have an opportunity to they have an opportunity to cut their teeth and move on. They are able to say in their own way. I guess that's the best way to put it. That they are finally set free. They're moved on. And some of these things can be very, very creative, but this by far has got to be one of the most impressive things I've ever seen. It starts out with this circus scene, and these two unicorns are kind of bound. And there's this ringmaster who oddly looks very similar to Triple H. And this ringmaster's kind of, proceeding as usual as these unicorns are trying to break free. They begin to look at each other, and they kind of try to pull themselves off these golden chains, and eventually they snap and they're able to jump, and it look like they're going to escape. And as they start charging towards the ringmaster, he sees them at first, but then he immediately gets alarmed, and he runs past. And these two unicorns, they run past the ringmaster as he ducks in fear. At 1 minute, he looks like he's in control of the situation as he's kind of navigating and directing the circus. And these two unicorns, they just dart past the ringmaster, and eventually he ducks down and protects himself as if he's nervous. And they're heading towards the door as if they're finally setting themselves free. And then one of the most compelling parts of the entire animated short is when they look to another unicorn that was kind of behind another gate, and his horn was already broken. And as they're running past this other unicorn with this broken horn, their eyes are kind of raised in nervousness and in fear, or as in concern. And he kind of gives them, the head nod as if it's okay, go do what you do. And that is the encouragement that they need to continue to keep their direction and head towards this door. And as they head to this door, you see their unicorns light up, and they charge the door and they break free. And as they charge and they break free, they leave a trail that's blazed with their footprints, and they walk away. And then you see silhouettes of formerly known as Xavier Woods, Austin Creed, and Kofi Kingston as they walk off into the sunset. And you see their broken unicorns, their broken unicorn horns on the ground. And it was so artistic, it was so poetic, and so well done. And I was like, wow, this animated short to kind of make it clear that the New Day is finally free. We don't know what they're going to go by at this point, and they really don't need to go by anything. It's because we already know what they, who they are and what they represent. But this is probably one of the better I'm free videos that I've ever seen, as far as superstars that are no longer in WWE and their 90-day non-compete clauses are officially up. And to see that, I was like, wow. It touched on everything you would want it to kind of touch on. It kind of pulled at your heart a little bit, seeing Big E still lay, kind of behind, but he was just kind of behind the gate. He wasn't chained up, but he had a broken horn. And the moment of them, kind of being behind this gate, not wanting to be held back anymore. But as soon as they broke away their chains kind of vanished into thin air. So it was very symbolic. It was very, very, very well done. I mean, it was, I don't know whose idea this was, but this has got to be one of the better videos of pro wrestlers who have made it clear that their time in WWE is up, and it's time to move on to broader horizons. So I thought that was very special. I thought it was very important to bring up because, man, it's I'm excited to see what Austin Creed does and what True Kofi decides to do as far as their next move. I think the obvious space everybody expects him to go is into AEW. I know there's a matchup that everybody's been dying to see. There's been a rumored matchup for years. We've seen tweets years ago where it said, one day the New Day and the Young Bucks will face off and the world will rejoice. And I think we have that opportunity now. So shout out to the brothers, Austin Creed. Shout out to the brother, Kofi Kingston. Hey, Brian, H. in?
I think so. I think we're here.
Yeah, he's
Can you
in.
hear me?
Yeah, I've just been talking to the people about what I watched this week. And in case you haven't noticed on the graphic, do you have an idea of what the heck I might be referring to, buddy?
The New Day.
Oh, indeed. But yeah, I was just say what?
Can we call them that?
See, I didn't even call them that. I see, as I was, me and the people were having a conversation. I said, look, I don't know what we're going to call them. I don't know what we're, I said, but we know who they are. I was on some Scott Hall,
Yeah.
you know who we are, and you know why we're here. But I was telling the people that this has got to be one of the most masterful animated shorts I've ever seen. from any superstar that is declaring that their time in the WWE has officially come to an end.
True.
How did you feel about this when you saw it? I just talked for the last, let me see, I'm counting, probably for the last 5 to 10 minutes about this. And just, I thought it was a wonderful masterpiece. I mean, it pulled on the heartstrings a little bit. It kind of got a point across. The symbolism, the images, I think it was so perfect. You know, it wasn't too long, but it was almost obvious at that point what we were looking at. And I thought it was absolutely beautiful. It was just like, this was different. This is a art piece that we just looked at.
Yeah, I thought it was great. You know, shout out to Jonathan Davenport. You know, he's the animator for Big E's and Big E and Andreas Hale. They all work together.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that.
So, yeah, he was the animator for that. So shout out to them, man. You know, it speaks to them. I mean, like that's their culture, you know, as far as comics and you know, it's people affectionately call it nerd culture. So even though I like wouldn't fully like understand like every single frame of that, I got the gist of what was they were saying, and then like you even bring it up the Triple H reference in it. So, but the part with the one,
yeah, let's say it, bring it up because I talked about it.
Yeah, that one with the one unicorn, you know.
Yes,
that got me.
Yeah, that was it, man. I said, "Oh, that pulled on the heartstrings, man." They looked at him, just their eyes. First of all, his horn was broken. It was like, "Oh no," and he wasn't chained up, but he was behind the gate, and they looked at him, and their eyes was just like, "Are you okay?" You know what I mean? And he was like, "I'm fine." He just kind of nodded and said, "Do your thing," and they just took off. I was like, "Oh wow!" And then at the end, when they finally broke out, man, their unicorn horns were broken. And they walked away. You see the two silhouettes of Austin Creed and Kofi as they walked off into the sunset. Man, it's a powerful piece for an animated short.
Yeah, definitely. You know, bravo to them going out that way. You know, it's like they should have. We all know they should have had the red carpet rolled out. I mean, for goodness sakes. And this is, you know, we feel how people want to feel about the way Vince McMahon's creative was. John Moxley had a better rollout, a better farewell than what the New Day got. You know what
I'm sorry, you remember that? Because I don't. Brian has experienced technical difficulties once again. Yeah, you mentioned John Moxley's rollout. I barely remember it. But I definitely agree that you know, when you see the New Day and you know, obviously what they have done for the industry, especially Kofi Kingston, but just them as a whole, as a unit, I agree. They definitely deserved I guess a better rollout than that.
All
but
right,
I honestly,
here we go.
There it is. Okay, you're good. Oh, we lost you again. We were there for a second. But I think when you look at the New Day, some people, I'm not saying who. All right, there we go. Are you back in? Go ahead.
Yeah, but you
the New Day obviously was considered a Vince McMahon creation, right? And there's some people that are under the impression that Triple H is not as loyal to, I guess, not all of them, but a good amount of the you know, Vince McMahon guys, I guess you can say. The New Day was I don't know how much of Kofi and Austin had in the creative when coming up with the New Day. I don't know if that was solely a Vince McMahon thing or something that they decided to have, you know, more of a creative input. I know eventually they would, but as far as the concept, right, I mean, it's definitely got Vince McMahon's fingerprints all over it. And not just him, guys like R-Truth. Who else? There's a handful of, you probably could even say like like an Austin Theory, but we all know that Vince McMahon, everybody, whoever books the show, whoever's at the top of the food chain, they have their guys. And everybody knows that it's not about what's good, what's bad, but it's about what the person up top actually likes. So naturally, the New Day is one of the all-time greats, and they still have a lot left in the tag team wrestling. Is probably at a standstill. But when you have characters and you have developed established stars like the New Day and Austin and Kofi, you don't necessarily need, I guess what you would consider tag team competition or anything to keep them involved because of the type of characters that they are. They have enough personalities between the two of them to be involved. And the stuff they were doing even late in their heel run was very New Day-ish. It was very funny. But obviously, they felt like they know their worth, what they were being paid. For them to walk away from that and for them to have made the decision that, hey, I don't want to take a pay cut. Not in this fashion. I've been here too long. I've invested too much time. This is not something I want to do at this point in my career. This is my worth. I know what I bring to the table. And if you don't value that, whatever your situation may be, whether it's business, whether it's finance, whether it's budget cuts, regardless, they made the decision that they weren't going for it anymore. They decided to naturally walk away. Hey, Brian H., what you doing? Nope, he's still having technical difficulties. So yeah, man, that I can't explain enough how important that animated short was to the I guess the next chapter is a fresh start for the New Day or the New Way or whatever. I don't know what they're calling themselves, but I'm looking forward to seeing what happens with Austin Creed and Kofi. But what else did I watch this week? Watch Ring of Honor. I watched this. I watched a lot of back and forth. Grayson Waller decided to come into the mix, and he decided to say a few things. You back in, Brian H?
I believe so, man.
There you go. That's all right. Just do up. There he goes. He wasn't. Now he's not. Grayson Waller had a lot to say on NXT. Most people had a problem with it. I know a lot of TNA guys had some issues in terms of what Grayson Waller had to say, especially comment about being the top guy in TNA. It's not 2005. Being the top guy in TNA wrestling is like being the best basketball player at the YMCA. I know Brian Myers took offense to that. He's officially a TNA diehard. So did Moose. Moose celebrated, I think, 10 years in TNA or however long he's been there. So a lot of people from that space took offense to some of the comments that Grayson Waller had to say. But Grayson Waller decided he's had enough. He looks in great shape. He changed his gear, and he had a lot to say. So I think him showing up in NXT is probably the best move for him because NXT's missing some star power right now, especially at the top of the card. And I think he fits in just fine, especially with what they need him to do. So he definitely rattled some cages, though. I thought, that went like viral. Maybe not like mainstream viral, but like pro wrestling viral. I didn't know what was going on. He just came out of nowhere, and I was like, "What's going on?" He said, "Hey, WWE right here." I was like, "Uh-oh." See, when you start calling out the company in front of the camera, you know something's about to get ugly. Did you see that coming?
No, I ain't see it coming. But one thing about Grayson, right? Mm-hmm. He's very good on the microphone. He's a good promo, and he's somebody that he kind of missed. If this was the what's that channel surfing days?
Yeah.
You stop to hear what he's talking about, right? So I was shocked, but what I did like when he said, he said, and Shawn Michaels probably back there laughing because he know this is true, and I lit a fire up under the men. And he said the women were running circles. I was sitting there listening to the promo, and I was like, I don't see nothing false about anything he's saying.
Yeah. Were you offended by his TNA comment?
Come on, you're talking to me here. No.
I knew you were going to say that.
I mean, it's also, that's going to fire them up too. I wonder how Brother Hugh would have felt about it. But no, it didn't offend me at all. I mean, again, he was saying what a lot of people say. Was what he saying the truth? And that maybe not, but it's still like something like make you think.
Yeah,
You
it's
know,
definitely thought provoking, isn't it? It's like, oh, wait a second
yeah. And so, but like, far as the men and everything, like, yeah, that's what we've been talking about for the
now. Yeah.
past 6 months here, ever since
Mhm.
Trick, Javon, and Oba went up, and that's why Shawn Michaels said, like, nah, we wanted Javon to stay, because I'm even if Ricky Saints was still there, we'd still be having this conversation,
Yeah, no doubt.
So we'll see. I don't know how far, like, nobody's gonna be made a star. I mean, if anything, this is gonna get Grayson over. You're gonna pay attention to him.
I think he could kill in NXT right now.
Mhm.
He's and I knew something was up one when he saw that I noticed his physique started to change when he was still part of the New Day. Because he counts. I like he's an honorary New Day member. And then I started to notice that he changed his gear and he's been doing like I think he's been on Main Event. And I was like, Grayson Waller's been kind of, he's been up to some things. So then when he popped up on NXT and he kind of like grabbed a live mic and decided, he had quite a bit to say, I was like, and that was definitely not what I was expecting from him, but I'm not surprised. Like you said, he's always been a good promo. I always saw Grayson Waller came off as a joke because of how he was introduced, as far as the Grayson Waller project, him kind of being a talk show host. I never necessarily liked that role for somebody when they debut or like that's the first thing you're known for when you come up to the main roster. And that to me, that's what it's kind of seemed like when Grayson Waller first popped up, during his main roster time. But man, he was definitely talking his talk. So I thought that was interesting. So I think we'll all be dialed into Grayson Waller. I think there's a different edge, there's a different attitude. He's kind of, like I said, he wanted to rattle some cages, and I think that's exactly what he did. So mission accomplished, Grayson Waller. I've always liked Grayson Waller more than Austin Theory. I liked Austin Theory the way that he was. This new serious, extra hard version, bald head, Justin Timberlake looking version of him. I was like, nah, I think he should have just stayed the way he was and started to build on that just a little bit. But Grayson Waller has made it clear he is coming out of the shadows. So we'll see what he does, man. But I definitely got a kick out of, watching him kind of assert himself a little bit. And we'll see what happens. I'm sure people are looking forward to seeing what he does next, especially if he kind of helps NXT kind of, stay in that space. There's a lack of main event talent at the top right now. So he fits right in. And I don't think it's a demotion, but I also don't think that, what he said about TNA, the world champion at TNA is accurate as well. But it's all good. So, yeah, that was quite a bit, man. But like I said, man, we're about 30 minutes in. Let's get to why the heck we are here. We're talking about SummerSlam, for goodness sake. We have 2 nights, Saturday, August 1st, and then we have Sunday, August 2nd. Now, I know a lot of people, I don't know how most people feel about the 2 nights now, but obviously, if the WWE, especially in the capacity that is being run now, if they can milk 2 nights of pro wrestling, especially for their biggest pay-per-view or PLE of the summertime, why the heck wouldn't they? And I mean, and this card is absolutely loaded from top to bottom. And I couldn't even begin to tell you what will steal the show, because there's so many things on this card that is, man, it's definitely, this should be one for the ages. Now, now Brownish was here. He would tell you, I'm not really as hyped for the SummerSlam buzz. Not because of the fact that it's like, oh, it's not good, it's not bad. It's just that the presentation of these shows isn't what it used to be, right? It isn't as special because we get these type of big arena shows, these big stadium shows more often than not throughout the year for a number of different reasons. So sometimes it doesn't come across as big because now we're sport wrestling fans. We have access to stuff that we used to only get once or twice a year. Now we get it 3 or 4 or 5 times. But nonetheless, this has got to be one of the most. This is a WrestleMania level PLE that they have in front of us. So we have Cody Rhodes versus CM Punk for the WWE Championship. We have Obafemi versus Brock Lesnar in the Hell in a Cell. Those matches by themselves could main event any other PLE any other time of year, right? We got Liv Morgan versus Io Sky. that has a chance to be a potential show stealer. We have Gunther. Hey, Brian H, you back again. Gunther. SummerSlam's preview for night 1 and night 2. Still on night 1. Gunther versus a Nick Aldis that seems to be coming out of retirement. Is he wrestling full time? I know he's a producer, but I don't know. Maybe he's just wrestling for a little bit and then going backstage again. You know, it's because they say once you sign a contract, you are officially becoming an active wrestler. And tidbit, Nick Aldis and Brian H are the same age. Isn't that crazy? Nick Aldis is a year younger than Seth Rollins. Isn't that amazing? He looks such like a distinguished older gentleman. But isn't that crazy? So I thought that's, and then we got I always told people, I say, yeah, you know, I'm around the same age as Nick Aldis, right? They're like, no way, I'm not trying to tell you. We also have Fatal Attraction versus Nikki Bree and Paige. That's the Bella Twins and Paige. That's, you know, it's kind of the Fatal Influence. What I say, not Fatal Attraction. I'm sorry, ladies, Fatal Influence. But that's you know, that's not a passing of the torch, but that's okay. We got the old generation trying to work with the younger generation, so it's something I can appreciate. Yeah, I mean, we'll see. I'm not sure, but we'll see. And then we have no, I'm not big on Fatal Influence. I think they're really, really good, but I'm not invested in them yet because I don't, you know what I mean? So I think the more, you know, I get to know them a little bit better, I'll be like, all right, okay. I'm invested in the Bellas and I'm invested in Paige. They're good though. I think like just what they do on the main roster is like, okay, they get it. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And that's just coming from somebody that's not as familiar with that. Like I know them, but I know, you know what I mean? I'm not as attached to them. Mm-hmm. And of course we have the Usos and Jacob Fatu versus Solo Sikoa, Royce Keys, and LA Knight, who has been on fire. He's been carrying the shows lately on Monday Night Raw. He's stepping into his Diamond Dallas Page run. Don't make that face.
Carrying the show.
Think about it. Roman Reigns is going to show up at the end, so he's not there to carry the show. He's just there to close the show out. You and I both know that.
I'm bored. You just saw my problem.
But you know what though? You put out the video, and the other day, and which was very controversial because it's not something I expected you to do or say. But you know, just putting it out there. But it was he literally comes out. He might start the show. He might end the show. He might do both. You're lucky if he does both.
Yeah.
He has not wrestled on regular TV. He only wrestles on PLEs. Like he's on Brock Lesnar status. So he's like Hogan, like, you know, me being here is enough. Hogan was that way in WCW. Hogan barely wrestled in WCW, but Hogan was so good at getting you pissed off, riling you up, controlling you. He was in like 8 different segments.
That's the difference.
Yeah, you're right. And he might be in a match. Roman's going to be in one segment at the end. He's the beginning at the end. It
was better when he was in multiple segments, though. You know, but if getting LA Knight coming out there all the time talking, and it's like, now he's not. He's obviously, you know, I
agree.
He's not. If you want to call it carrying the show, I'm saying that I'm bored on Monday nights, but he's been better at his spots. You know what I mean?
He's Monday night babyface. Eh?
He might be though.
Think about it.
That's the sad part.
Yeah, just embrace it. It's okay.
Danhausen.
Yeah, okay. If you want to go with Danhausen, all right. Because Danhausen is another MVP. He's just there. And so speaking of Danhausen, so that's night 1. Night 1 is pretty loaded for SummerSlam, and I don't think they're gonna play nice with night 2. Night 2 is the one you want to go home with, but I'm not sure night 2 can hang with night 1. So let's see. You got Roman Reigns versus Seth Rollins for the World Heavyweight Championship. That's going to be the one I think they want to leave the lasting impression. They want to leave that in the back of your mind. Of course, we have the match between. Hold on, let me see. Okay, yeah. So it's what is it? It's Charlotte. What is this? Oh, so that's right. This is I'm tripping. I was like, what is this match? But it's for the vacant WWE the Women's Championship. We have this is the ladder match, isn't it? Yes, it is. It's just frozen again. So we have the ladder match for the vacant WWE Women's Championship. We have Finn versus Sammy, which I think is going to be really, really good. We have Danhausen versus Dom. I think that's a human monies on the pole match. I could be wrong. We have Penta versus Chad Gable for the Intercontinental Championship, and we have Trick Williams versus Baron Corbin for the United States WWE United States Championship. I don't know who asked for that match, but okay. Yeah, okay. Interim. See, thank you. She had to correct us. Interim. Yes, there it is. Shout out to Queen PR. She had to for the interim WWE Championship. So night 2 is just as loaded as night 1. I'm not necessarily so sold, but it's both two just ginormous cards. Like I said, SummerSlam this year in Minnesota at the Viking Stadium. This is going to be pretty big. I will say I'm surprised to see that Obafemi and Brock Lesnar are on the same card as CM Punk and Cody Rhodes. Like you would think they would split those two up, but no, that's going to be a big deal as far as those two. Now the question is, where do we go with these matches? Anytime you have these two nights, this is an absolutely insane card, and it's loaded from top to bottom. I don't think there's not a bad match on here. Of course, people are going to have their favorites, but I'm going to be honest with you. I think Liv Morgan and Io Sky, if given enough time, they could potentially steal the show, because Liv Morgan and Io Sky, two of the best professional wrestlers on the planet right now. Io Sky is on a different level. Liv Morgan came back, and it's like she never left. So what they're both able to do is, to me, far beyond what the average pro wrestlers are doing these days. And that match is one of the ones I'm looking forward to the most. Now, the most intriguing match that I think that we'll end up looking up is the whole Bloodline versus Royce Keys, Solo Sikoa, and LA Knight. LA Knight has been kind of predicting that there's been something going on with the Bloodline. He has been suspicious, and what's the word? He has never trusted the situation from the very beginning, especially since the Usos went back to Roman Reigns. Now, Solo Sikoa is a tad bit different. He says he's not going back. He doesn't agree with anything that they've done. He doesn't want to be a part of the family. He's like, look, you guys have been pushing me around since I was a kid. I'm not going back to it. You got to remember, Solo's the baby of the group. You know, him and Jacob around the same age, but, you know, he's the baby. He's like, no, I was the one that's always excluded from you guys when you were playing, so I'm not going back to this. I want to stand on my own 2 feet. And Solo has been quite funny, especially when he showed up on Raw dealing with his brothers, and you know, he had them on. Big Jim almost cracked twice, but that's not the point. I think this will set the tone for what happens next with the Bloodline, as well as Royce Keys, LA Knight, and Solo Sikoa. So that's probably the most intriguing matchup. Now, Gunther versus Nick Aldis. Now, I never thought I would see Nick Aldis compete in a WWE ring, especially when he first showed up as the general manager of SmackDown. I figured he was retiring, be a producer, which he is backstage, and I figured, okay, he would just have this on-screen role in a way similar to Adam Pearce, another retired wrestler, old scrap iron. But Nick Aldis coming out of it, this would have been a very clever way to introduce him as a singles performer versus somebody that may not be as familiar with Nick Aldis coming in, you know, a former NWA World Champion, you know, former TNA guy. But to see him come into the mix and kind of get in the ring for the first time, getting to the WWE with Gunther, somebody I'm sure he has history with from yesteryear. This is going to be one of the most. I want to see if Nick Aldis, what he looks like now in the WWE ring compared to all the other stages he's been on. Branish, what do you think about Nick Aldis making his debut in a WWE ring? I said, what if this is one just big ploy for us to introduce him as a single star by making him a general manager, just for get to see, you know, to get people to get used to seeing him. So now he's in the ring, people now like, who's that guy? You know, versus when if he just came in directly off the NWA.
Wow, that's actually kind of.
Would that be clever? I was like,
yeah, because you also get to see. You get to see like his promo skills, his mic skills first, and really see. Like I always said, when Nick Aldis was there, when he stands up, like even if you look at him standing across from Roman Reigns, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Nick Aldis looks like he belongs. He looks like a champion. Adam Pearce, all due respect, looks like a retired wrestler.
In all fairness, I'm sorry. In all fairness, Brian, he always looked like that, even when he was active. I like Scrap Iron, but he's looked the same for the last 20 years. Yeah, old Scrap Iron. That was his name. That's his name, Scrap Iron Adam Pearce. You know that?
I mean, I always see Scrap Daddy on the thing, but Scrap Iron is hilarious.
Scrap Iron.
But I like that, you know, and sure, you know, we've been fantasy booking us like wrestling nerds. That's like been watching since the Ring of Honor days and open up our PWI magazines. We're fantasy booking these matches between.
Why do you gotta say PWI magazine like that? I think I might be offended. I'm not sure.
No, it's a good one. It's all due respect. I love me. I got a lot of love for PWI.
I know, but you had to say it like you like PWI magazines. Like you didn't say it cool. That's cool. Go ahead.
That's the wrestling nerd talk, brother.
Okay, fair enough.
You know, I feel like, you know, that movie 1,000 Words. I feel like I gotta watch him now. The way the internet's been acting, that's like, gotta be careful.
It might be after you.
Yeah. But the thing is about Nick Aldis, like we've been fantasy booking Nick Aldis versus Adam Pearce for the longest time. You know what I mean? It's like, how do we get there? We got 2 former NWA world's champions. How do we get there? But like you said, this may be great. You know, one, it gives Gunther something to do. He's in a high-profile match just because Nick Aldis is the GM. This match, if Nick Aldis came in the way the normal wrestler would, this match would not have the same amount of stakes.
No.
You know what I mean? And then, you know, who knows who's up next? You know, shoot, Sami Zayn could be right there waiting because, you know, he's been having an issue with him. So I think this might actually be this, you know, and then he's a wrestler's wrestler. So, you know, probably, you know, put the bump card away a little bit, but he's may still wrestle. Bingo, you know, and then shoot. He didn't give us that match with Cody. Cody needs something to do outside the title, which we'll get into that later. But, you know, say he don't win, there's a matchup. So I'm all for it.
Do you think that do you think this is something that's kind of be like permanent? Is he going to be an active performer here on out, or is it just like a one-time thing and he's going to find his way back to the front office? I'm good. Because
man, you got me sold on him like being permanent.
Because he made here's what threw me off. I thought it was a one-time thing. Like, look, let's just get this done. You know, let's do, you know how to do, waive your rights so that, you know, we're not responsible if anything happens to you. This non-sanctioned type thing. But he was like, he made it clear, look, if you sign this contract, you have signed the contract as an active performer. You are no longer the general manager of SmackDown, and it goes to me. And I was like, well, isn't that the reason why they split in the first place? Because he was like, remember, he was overwhelmed. He's like, I can't do 2 shows. You know, we need and that's how they introduce Nick Aldis. But I don't know if they're saying like, hey, he's going to be an active performer here on out, or just, you know, he may just be doing this as a one-off and go back to his producer job, you know, backstage, and just maybe pop up every once in a while if needed and necessary. You know what I mean? Because I'm starting to call me crazy, but I think that's going to be a new role after a while, where like you can kind of produce and still wrestle if necessary, because a lot of those producers are former wrestlers, and you already know when it's about to be a bump spot because everybody has their one more moment of glory.
Yep.
So if Gunther's taking everybody out, you know, all the former wrestlers are coming out. What spot was that where all the producers came out and took a bump?
Was it Gunther?
Somebody took out somebody, and I was like, oh look, Peter Williams, he took a bump. Hurricane took a bump, and then Kenny.
Brock Oba segments.
It might have. Was it Oba? It wasn't Oba. It couldn't have been. It was a bad guy.
A while ago.
Yeah, it was a while ago, but I was like, yo, and I don't know if it was at a PLE, but I was like, you guys noticed all the producers came out and they was like, oh yeah, my turn. I'm about to get one more bump. You know what I mean? And Peter Williams took one, and then not Sanjay. Who's back? Is it Daivari? No, it might be Sanjay. It was just all the former wrestlers came out and just took a quick bump. I said they probably got their adrenaline pumping right now. They got to take one more, just be a part of the show. So you know it's something when they send all the former wrestlers / producers out there on their little suits and ties, and they start getting flipped, and you know, just one moment of all the officials just got beat up. But I think the expectations of what Nick Aldis is extremely low. So you can kind of write it yourself versus saying, how do we get this guy over? Because I'm sure our audience isn't as familiar with him in his previous, you know, time as a wrestler in other spaces. You know what I mean? But now it's like,
maybe
you know what I mean?
Might have some matches on Club WWE.
That's also a possibility. They're trying to sell that. So
They might put some behind the scenes. Find out about Nick Aldis' career before the career at WWE.
oh yeah, it's probably coming.
I mean, I'm pretty sure your algorithm at some point probably happened this week too. There was a Nick Aldis, Cody Rhodes promo.
Yeah, it popped up. First,
Yeah,
first of all, all the companies take advantage of whatever's hot. So I think one of the best things about AJ Styles retiring was Ring of Honor decided, hey, look, this is 8 hours of AJ Styles matches from Ring of Honor. I was like, thank you, finally. Same thing with TNA used to be known for every time something happened in AEW, Sting retires. Oh, this is the best of Sting in TNA from 2006 to 9 or whatever it was. So I agree. I think that's kind of a thing. But Nick Aldis and Cody Rhodes, we watched that match, didn't we? That was at the first All In for the NWA World Champion. That was Cody Rhodes' first World Championship to gold. I mean, maybe not at first, but he was trying to.
Daddy became the first father-son.
Yeah, he was like chasing all his dad's championships. But yeah, so
That's
we look
what
at.
made,
You said who?
elevated Cody Rhodes.
So there you go.
You saw somebody said elevated this week. I like how our verbs on this show tend to make their ways around the wrestling world.
It's crazy, isn't it? You would think a lot of people watch what we got going on. That's what it seems like to me.
Absolutely.
No, it's cool. Influencers are going to influence. That's what we do. Night 1 versus night 2. So let me ask you this. So I pretty much gave you all of my most intriguing matchups that I'm looking forward to. I think Cody Rhodes CM Punk is going to be a banger because it's just that's like a flagship match. That's the dream match that we want to see. Femi and Brock Lesnar they're going to kill each other. That's why they're in the cage. Living EO could potentially steal the entire weekend, and then everything else kind of falls in line. Is there any particular matches on here, Brian, that you have said like this is what I'm looking forward to, or this is what's going to set the tone for me, or something that you just say, you know what, I'm really interested in seeing how this goes and what this turns into between night 1 and night 2?
Outside of the obvious of Reigns and Rollins, I'm very interested in how this women's match turns out because that looks like there's a vacant spot there, right?
Yes, it is. Yet to be filled.
Something just tells me Rhea Ripley's coming back.
Wasn't it her championship that they're supposed to be fighting for in the first place?
Yeah, it's a creative way to do it, I guess.
So you think that she would go for that? Like she didn't lose it. So you think she would agree to come back to fighting for a championship that she didn't lose? Or
well, see, that's the thing, because this is an interim championship, right?
Sure.
And WWE has never done that historically in the past. So you need a big pop. You need something because, like, you look at this card, right, and you say, okay, where is the surprise coming? Right?
Yeah.
Who is there? A legend out there hanging around? Not really. The only surprise, I ain't gonna say the only one surprise that jumps out to me would be Kevin Owens getting involved in Finn Balor and Sami Zayn, or even CM Punk and Cody Rhodes or something. Just because that would feel like people would go crazy if Kevin Owens came back, right? That would be that big SummerSlam return. So like last year it was Brock coming back. The year before that was Roman coming back. So it's like, where's the big SummerSlam return? So I think it would be. I think it would be like it saved like Rhea Ripley. It's like, all right, we she's okay, she's clear. Because like, why is that spot open?
I was confused because I had to look at it and I was like, wait a minute, why do we have a vacant spot for a vacant championship? But
so she
is Naomi ready to come back?
Well,
usually they don't come back to their babies at like 1 or 2.
Yeah,
she's still kind of fresh, but I don't know.
So that's what I think. If Rhea came back, all of a
sudden,
I don't
know. I got one for you.
Oh,
Jordan Grace. It's a way to get her going. There's been a lot of buzz like, oh no, there's no creative plans for. When I see stuff like that, I feel like that's done on purpose.
Of course.
But I think sometimes also sometimes you hold people off TV on purpose, like they did with the Street Profits. It worked wonders for them because they were a tag team that I don't want to say was getting stale, but they were being repetitive as far as. But and then when they came back on fire.
I said they was, in my opinion.
Okay,
And I love the Street Profits,
sure.
but I do think they were getting stale because of the fact they was repetitive. The heel turn didn't work. I think we could have got something with them and Lashley. Like, even if they had to be heels, they could have just turned it up a notch. But then that just went elsewhere. And it was just same old. So they come back. I think they came back real quick. Kind of have a quick moment in glory before they go away and take care of their new babies that's on the way, take care of their wives.
Yeah, so, and then they don't overstay their welcome.
Exactly.
No, but that's weird. I mean, it's because they both came back really like better than they were. I'm like, that's not hard. That's not easy to do to be out of sight, out of mind in pro wrestling, and they come back better than you, including Dawkins. This is some of the best work I've ever seen him do. He's in phenomenal shape.
Yeah.
And just I don't know, it's weird because like I said, I was like, but this last run they had was really, really good. Short, but it was really, really good. I think I kind of got its point across. But yes, that's my I think it might be a Jordan Grace type thing. Just to get her going. You know what I mean? Since there's always this, there's no creative, like, I'm not buying that. Danhausen versus Dominic Mysterio, Human Money's on a pole match. I mean, Vince Russo would just be absolutely proud at anybody bringing anything on a pole match, especially Judy Bagwell on a pole match, this old WCW match concept. Yeah, but yeah, night two is just as loaded as night one. I don't think we need. I don't know what's going to happen with Baron Corbin and Trick Williams. I like the fact that they're bringing in these kind of. I like when guys come back to embrace their roles with young talent, and I think we're probably going to see that with a couple of returning guys. We're seeing more vets. It's weird seeing vets come back after they got released. I'm like, wait a minute, but didn't they get released for a reason? So when they come back, I'm really confused in a lot of ways. But when you see how Rusev has kind of worked with the young group, and now Baron Corbin's coming back to work with Trick Williams, and it's like, yeah, they kind of need these guys. So. Like I said, we see the same thing with Paige and the Bellas working with Fatal Influence, same situation. So I'm intrigued to see how it matches up though. But man, I just Seth Rollins versus Roman Reigns. We've talked about that for the last couple of weeks extensively, and a couple of weeks ago we had quite some controversy talking about who is Seth Rollins really forever number 2. Brian H seems to thankful, and obviously, and so does Roman Reigns, but. For something that was not maybe done last minute, but kind of revisited, man, I think that Seth Rollins and Roman Reigns has done an amazing job of reinvesting the people in their feud because they have so much history, and these guys have been at the top for such a long time. And to see where these guys were and where they are now, it's like, man, these are some of the top guys. I think Seth Rollins and his injuries have hindered him, but Seth Rollins has been the MVP in a lot of spaces when it comes to the WWE for what they needed him to do. But like I said, injuries have really set him back quite a bit. And him and Roman Reigns are going to fight forever. That's just kind of what it is between those two. And I'll be interested to see how this actually pans out. I'll be interested to see if the bloodline is going to be, I'm sure they're going to be in tow somewhere trying to get involved, but Brian H mentioned surprises. I don't know if there's going to be any surprises this year, but I know they got to give the people something, not just the wrestling, because you're going to have a lot of faces here. You're going to have a lot of celebrities. You got a lot of sports figures. Like I said, we're here in Minnesota, and I know a lot of people are looking forward to just the show itself and all the surprises that it has to offer and what it brings. So I'm intrigued. I'm curious to see what happens. Sami Zayn versus Finn Balor. I think that's going to be very dramatic. And I love the fact that Sami Zayn is in this space now. He has gone to a different level as far as his range and his emotion, what he brings to the table. Still upset, still screwed, being this guy, this guy that has this chip on his shoulder. I'm like, man, this is it's a very, very dramatic version of Sami Zayn that I think really, 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 really works well for him. So I'm excited to see what he does next. I'm excited to see where that goes. Finn Balor back in his space that he belongs now that he's away from the Judgment Day. He did what he's supposed to do. He made all those young guys and now he's a main event player on SmackDown, and he's one match away from being in title contention. So now this obviously, and whoever wins this match gets a number one contendership at the I believe at the WWE Championship. So whether it's Cody Rhodes, whether it's CM Punk, they're going to face either Finn Balor or Sami Zayn. So SummerSlam's pretty loaded. There's a lot going on. We can spend hours upon hours upon hours talking about what is to come. But I think the best way to enjoy SummerSlam on Saturday, August 1st and Sunday, August 2nd is to enjoy it for what they give us. Enjoy the story. We have to get out of this space of thinking that SummerSlam is it's the end of something, but in a lot of cases, it might be the beginning of quite a few things. I think we're in for some surprises. I think we're in for some involvements, but it should be a really, really, really good show. I think it's probably going to set the tone for a lot going on. AEW has a lot going on. A lot of like I said at the top of the show, a lot of the superstars that got released, the 90-day compete clauses they're back in the mix, and they're making their debuts. Hey, Brian H. And it's cool. It's been one of those shows. We're almost done. And how do you feel about, I was just telling the people, the conversation we're having about overall, I think this is going to be one of the, I'm not ranking it against other SummerSlams. And let me tell you why. I'm not ranking it against other SummerSlams is because of the feel of it. We get these shows more often than not throughout the year now. So sometimes that classic feeling of, oh, this is a special moment doesn't hold its same place as the SummerSlams have in the past. But I think it's going to be a really, 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 really good card. And I think it's going to be really enjoyable that everybody should be able to sink their teeth in. How about you, Brian H?
Something's not hitting that SummerSlam Shabazz.
I talked about this at the beginning of the show. I did. Yeah. I mentioned this.
I'm watching it. Like I got on, and I know you're gonna say this is my fault, but I got on SummerSlam '98.
That's right? Not see this. We talk about this. You're not supposed to watch the old stuff and then go back to the new stuff. It's not going to compare.
And yeah.
Anytime you compare anything from 1998 to today, Brian H., you're going to have problems. It's just not going to work. It's not going to go the way you want it to go. But like I did say it at the top of the show. I said, man, listen, I don't know if it has that same SummerSlam vibe, is because, like I said, we've gotten these type of shows before, and because we have gotten these type of shows before, or at least I should say we get them throughout the year, it's not as special as it doesn't feel as special as it used to feel. So it's okay. But when you go back and you watch the old stuff, you're just asking for trouble, Brian. It doesn't work that way. But I think the card by itself will stand on its own. Now, what will determine how good this SummerSlam is, actually, that's easy. Pretty much what comes from it, what happens afterwards, what this leads to, what stories come away from these matches, what happens based off the result, who returns, who doesn't return, who gets back in the mix. And that can kind of set the tone for the weeks to come and how the fans naturally respond to it. Or it takes them to the next chapter of whatever stories that the WWE could potentially be trying to tell as they move forward. So yeah, there you have it. This year's SummerSlam preview is going to be insane. We've talked about a lot of these matches in previous shows and weeks before, leading up to today, but we have the full match card. I'm excited. I'm sure WWE's excited. I'm sure the fans who are in Minnesota are absolutely excited to see some of these superstars that they may not have seen this up close and personal. I expect the presentation to be second to none. I expect it to be fun. I expect it to, do what was it intended to do. I'm also keeping a lookout for what happens as far as all the superstars whose 90-day non-compete clauses are up and where they end up, especially the New Day, trying to figure out what's going on with that. And we should end the summer on a high note as we go into the fall season. You know, WWE has to pretty much start competing with football. Before you know it, college football will be in the mix, the NFL will be in the mix. You know, we got European football that should be starting up soon. You know, all our favorite leagues. So lots of sports headed into the fall, and WWE's gotta end the summer with a bang. But with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, we're not going to hold you for too long. We've had a lot of technical difficulties, so we thank you for sticking with us, for hanging in there as we had this conversation. It's not like our normal show. We've had a lot of hiccups, but it's okay. I think we got through the gist of it, and I think we can all pretty much say that we are excited for this year's SummerSlam, and we're looking forward to the show that they provide to us. But in the meantime, follow us on all of our social media platforms at Wrestling Realm. Subscribe to our Patreon, Twitch, and YouTube at the Wrestling Realm. Continue to stay close to our social medias as we continue to celebrate 15 years of the Wrestling Realm. Follow Championship Culture on Instagram at Championship Culture _. And if you missed their shows, all the seasons 1 through 4, go to youtube.com/the Wrestling Realm playlist, Championship Culture, and catch up on all the juicy belt glory. I don't know what you call it. But in the meantime, ladies and gentlemen, wrestling fans, I say it every week, stay wrestling fans. We will be back to talk about the fallout of WWE SummerSlam. We're going to see what happened, what surprises came, who won what leads to the next. I cannot wait, and I know you can't either. But until then, wrestling fans, as I always say, stay wrestling fans. We out of here. That's it. We're done. We're going home. We'll see you next week. Peace.
Houston, we have a problem.
For all exclusive shows and bonus material, subscribe to our Patreon channel at patreon.com/thewrestling_realm. You can watch all of our Wrestling Realm content anytime on youtube.com/thewrestling realm.